and Josh. Brian, and it's Josh.
The original lyrics.
The old switcheroo, where we're talking gaming retro with your friends Mike and I am Jaymo. They're not Mike, but I am still Jaymo. I'm still Jaymo. Okay, that was worth it in my head. Welcome back, guys, to the old switcheroo. We're the often imitated, never emulated retro gaming podcast that normally dives deep into the Nintendo Switch Online catalog via Nintendo Classics. But in this special Light Switch episode, we are on honing our Jedi reflexes to race pods in Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, available now in the Nintendo eShop. If you like what you hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, play along. And our episode is called Now This is Podcasting.
Hey.
Hey. Mike unfortunately could not join us, but here with me in this wretched hive of scum and villainy are two of my very favorite returning guests. Please welcome back to the show Star Wars cosplayer and the man who waited a record-setting 1,000+ hours in line to see Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Instagram's Bryan.s.lee. Is the force strong with you today, Brian?
I hope so. I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt, and
You geared up. I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
But I was impressive that little intro there. I mean, if God forbid someday we lose John Williams, we got a prime replacement here.
You got Jaymo Strauss. And you know who else we got? Making his triumphant return from the dregs of season two's Ghoul Patrol. Please welcome back Josh from Smashing Game Time. Josh, congratulations on beating your brother Nick for the ongoing competition of most switcheroo appearances. How's that dad life treating you?
Oh, dad life is getting better and better. Excuse me, as I start to lose my voice because my child brings home every illness known to man,
Yep.
and my wife is right behind her. So at this point, I'm thankful the force is strong with me because I need it.
Yeah, your midichlorian count is nice and high.
Oh,
So
high enough to at least keep me alive. So I'm thankful. The force is thankful. Yes.
So, boys, before we get to today's game, I just want to wish you both an early happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th is fast approaching. So, got a couple of things for us to talk about here. First of all, can I tell you my Star Wars joke?
Do it
Of course.
Why does Palpatine always wear Nike?
because he just does it.
Because he loves to just,
We looked at just
he, he, he loves
Josh,
to
yeah,
just,
that was like, yeah, you have to be on the right track there.
he loves to just do it.
Do it. Golf clap.
Yay. I was very sad to see that that was actually already a meme on the internet because like my brain made it up, but it wasn't the first human to think of it, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
wanted to
it would have to be a little bit dumber for somebody like Josh to say it to be in the
well,
vein of dad joke, you know. So
well, here I got one for you.
that's
If
what I
you
meant.
want this
ooh,
one, I don't think this one's been made. Do
ooh,
you know why Palpatine has been banned from every Burger King in the country?
like something about have it your way. Wait a minute. I don't know. Why, Josh?
Because he always tries to order 66.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
know, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's dad enough, and at the same time, it's
That's
like
a
it's a
dad joke.
little original.
All right,
Oh yeah.
Brian. Go ahead, Brian. Your turn.
I, Jeez, do I have a Star Wars joke?
If you think of one, let us know.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
I wanted to give our listeners some context with our personal feelings about Star Wars with a quick mini game minute that I would like to call Mary Force Kill. And I know that sounds awful, okay? But hear me out though. I want to know of the Star Wars trilogies, original, prequel, and sequel, which one would you marry and watch for the rest of your life? Which one would you kill and do away with whatever? And which one would you just kind of force touch a little bit. Which one's your fun one? So I'll go first. I think you have to marry the original trilogy. I think it just is so iconic and important to like filmmaking that I think you kind of have to keep that one forever. But I think my hot take though is that I think I would force mess around with the sequel trilogy. I think that those are so much more interesting than people give them credit for, and I would reluctantly kill the prequels. I think there's a lot of cool aesthetic, but I just don't know if there's as much meat on the bone. Josh, what's yours?
Ooh, I would definitely marry the original. Like you said, there's so much to it that just honestly, if you tried to do anything else with it, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Uh, but if we're going to sit here and if I'm going to be a little more force sensitive towards one, I think the prequels, only because honestly, I love Obi-Wan Kenobi as a character.
Okay.
They fleshed him out so much more, not only within the movies, but within everything spin-off wise for it. So I love him as a character. So I think really that's kind of where it stands out. And then of course, not that I don't think they're good, it's just people give it so much hate. Of course, I'm gonna have to kill the sequels.
Ah, you caving in. Did you ever play Obi-Wan the game? Obi-Wan? That was the one where like you flicked the right stick to control his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Um, I think I do remember playing it. It starts to get to some point where I'm like, I can differentiate a lot of them because I remember the like nostalgia that each one has. But then there's at some point it all starts to blend in, and I'm like, I think I played it. It's
Yeah.
been so long I can't tell you, but
It,
it sounds familiar.
it was graphically a pretty ugly game, but I loved the hell out of it and I played the hell out of it. You could do so many cool things with your lightsaber and the Force, and I really loved it for that reason. It was actually the first piece of internet content I ever created. Was a
Oh.
message board post saying that, you know what, this game is a 7 out of 10.
And how many people threatened your life?
Oh yeah, people did not like that game. It was very glitchy.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm also thinking through nostalgia goggles because I remember playing it and not thinking the graphics were that bad. I thought it was quite. If anything, it made me think that like there was potential here. Because if I remember, Obi-Wan came out after Menace, right?
Yes.
It was like based off of the Menace version of Obi-Wan with the Padawan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I. Yeah, if anything, like ultimately, once the prequels were all done, it made me kind of think retroactively. Like, you should have waited till you had a little bit more, at least the prequel era done, so that you can kind of, I don't know. I mean, obviously it was a flash in the pan, like it was in that wave of Episode One mania that they're just like, oh, we just got to make an Obi-Wan game. And I don't know. I just remember enjoying it, but obviously, it didn't have much of a legacy, that game. There were a few games back then with that sort of decided to just do first person perspective of a given prequel character. Like, you remember there was a Django game, a
Yeah.
bounty hunter.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but yeah, I mean, well, to go back to your question before, yeah, my answer is the same as yours, Jeremy. I'd hate to have to pick one to. I'm very much of the philosophy of, obviously everybody has their own subjective opinions about the films, but like I just try to celebrate all of them, even warts and all. But I have to get, yeah. I mean, the original trilogy will always be my baby, as for I think any of us. Um, they're still my favorite films of all time, but and there's a lot that I love and appreciate, and also have issues with in terms of both the prequels and the sequels. But given that I feel like the sequels get probably more hate than they deserve, and that
Yeah,
with
Josh.
Once again, I never said I hated the sequels. I am just
oh
saying I
yeah,
understand.
you defended them as you said it too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
know.
I understand the hate that comes from. I don't understand the hate that comes from uh the Star Wars fan base, like the true hardcore ones. 'Cause it's like, yes, you're trampling on sacred ground. You got to be careful with what you do. It's Disney. Disney doesn't care. Disney was there to make the most money.
yeah,
But as just a standard, like, hey, I like Star Wars enough to at least love the universe. They're not bad. Don't get me wrong. If I'm gonna pick one of death, I'm gonna pick The Force Awakens because it's just a rehashing of A New Hope.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
all it is.
I agree. Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I love The Force Awakens, but I definitely agree that they leaned way too hard into rehashing the same general structure. If they had just let it
Mm-hmm.
kind of run, if they had given it more faith to just run on its own, it could have been even greater. But yeah, I mean, to at least with the prequels, though, I don't know. I mean, I might have answered that differently over time too, because even my opinions on individual prequels go up and down. Like, I realized a few years ago, for one thing, I used to be one of the people who I feel like more often than not, most Star Wars fans list Revenge of the Sith as their favorite prequel, for example, and I agreed with that for many years until like I was swayed a bit um, by bouncing, just kind of talking to my friend Ryan, who uh, kind of gave a pretty solid argument. I felt like for supporting the Phantom Menace more than most people would, and then also pointing out some flaws that I've always sort of felt like with Revenge of the Sith, for example. Like I feel like that movie does Padme dirty. I
Mm.
feel like the latter half of that movie is rushed, to try to bridge the gap to A New Hope, and like if anything, over time, like my feelings on Sith have kind of waned, but like now I'm comfortable saying, my hot take of I think Phantom Menace is the best prequel. I think Phantom Menace, well, because a lot of people back then were so side, were so like were a lot of people back then, I feel like were were sidelined by by their disappointment in Menace, that it just that Menace still sort of gets maybe too bad a rap, lingering from that kind of reaction. But like I think there's a lot to love about Menace. Yeah, like the pod race, for example, like
But ultimately, though, you would go the keep the originals, mess around with the sequels, and if you had to kill one, you'd kill the prequels.
if I had to.
You waited in line
Yeah.
for 1,000 hours for that movie, and you're getting rid of it.
Well, I thought it was, as we all did back then. We thought the Revenge of the Sith was going to be the final Star Wars ever.
Did you
So
know this, Josh? That like, so I mean, let me know in the comments if someone finds a record of it. But Brian might be the person who set the world record for longest wait for a movie. He was part of liningup.net's charity work, and so he was there waiting in downtown Hollywood to see Revenge of the Sith for over 1,000 hours, right?
it's I'm not sure what the final hours for because the episode one line was the big one that like you might have heard back then from the people who were the fans who were camping out for over a month at the Chinese theater, as well as the now gone Village Theater. We're not gone, but now shuttered Village Theater in Westwood, where they camped out for like a month and a half. But yeah, basically the long and short of it, liningup.net, which kind of grew out of the episode one line, they built a system of like, because people would always ask like, what, you just don't you guys have jobs, don't you guys have school or whatever, it's like, yeah, a lot, we did, but like they developed a system, these fans, to sort of allow you to log in hours, and then you don't necessarily even need to spend the nights, in the, like just it's about how much hours you accrue over a given period of time, and then your place in line is kind of determined by how much time you cumulatively spent there. So, I was going to school at the time, I was going to work at the time, I was just spending every every free hour I had, and literally sleeping in line. So yeah, I mean, I was 19. I was a little, but I was also like, this is the last Star Wars ever, and I was too young to join the first two, but
Well,
yeah,
and,
I mean, but at the same time, it's just a nonstop Star Wars party. It's not, people think, what do you're just sitting there waiting forever. It's like, no, we just what do you do when you get Star Wars fans together?
You sit there
You
and talk
shoot
about legends and which
ex-
stories are true and which stories are not true. Come on.
exactly, debate canon and everything. But at the same time, because it was such a, we were we a lot of attention was on us, and a lot of media was on us. There was always interesting things happening. We literally had like Star Wars celebrities come and visit us, as they still did, because we still do the lines for the Disney era films, and there will be one shortly for Mandalorian and Grogu. So yeah, I mean, get Star Wars fans together. We'll make the time pass.
and
Even
it,
just even just talking Star Wars.
and it got you on the Jimmy Kimmel show for a second. It was
I
it,
did.
was- it was a segment because Josh, they filmed right across the street from the Star Wars line.
Yeah.
So I might pull some footage of that off of YouTube
Oh,
and
I
put
would
it in
love
the
to see
final.
that.
Oh, it's so good. Brian's a cutie patootie. Well, guys, now that we've made half of our listeners turn off the video in a fit of rage for saying the sequels were not the worst trilogy, are you guys ready to roll the chance cubes and blast into today's game?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm game.
All right, well, let's dive into Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, released for the N64 and Windows in 1999. According to the game's opening crawl, for generations, the galactic pod racing circuit has thrilled citizens of the Outer Rim territories with its fast and dangerous contests of repulsor and turbine-driven land vehicles. Amid the ruffian and racing elite, one champion stands above the rest. His name is Sebulba, a cunning and ruthless pilot who wins by any means necessary. To challenge him, all the best pod race pilots gather on the desert planet of Tatooine for the legendary Boonta Classic, determined to claim the title of fastest pod racer in the galaxy. Let's take a look at the front of the box art for the Nintendo 64, since we are a Nintendo themed podcast. You have a dark, ominous black and white image of the junk dealer Watto, staring at the customer, while the bright gold logo sits in the center, while two pod racers are flying across the box art from left to right. Now, I kind of hate this box. I think this is so weird. Is anyone with me?
No, it's definitely weird.
What's weird about it, Josh?
Let's be honest. The whole like the black background isn't the problem here because we're very it's very much a Star Wars staple.
Yeah.
It's the black and white, I think, that really throws it off.
Yeah. Yeah, because Star Wars posters are usually so colorful. And so you have this black and white image of Watto that it's kind of really ominous, but he's kind of a silly character in Phantom Menace.
He's also like on the screen for like what, 60 seconds?
Oh yeah, he's
120 seconds. Yeah,
on the
he's like
screen
in and out. Yeah.
way more in this game than he ever was in the movie.
Yeah.
But my biggest issue with it is the pod racers are like they're side shots. They're like, what would you? It's not a profile shot. What would you call that? When you're looking, Brian,
Yeah,
you're an artist.
that'd be profile shot
Profile.
because off
Okay.
on the side. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, that's the thing. It's immediately it feels like you want to knock it for its simplicity, but
Yeah.
it's the simplicity is not necessarily the problem. Like you can do minimalist artworks that have a lot of impact, but at the same time, you look at this and it's just that standard promo image of Watto, you know, just dimmed and made black and white on a black background, and then just like you said, those profile shots of the pod racers just at his knees. Like it looks like somebody just sort of slapped together like because they're just standard renders of them on their side and if, yeah, we've seen that promo picture of Watto before, but it's just I don't know, it seems very lazy. And I almost kind of forgot that this was the box art for the N64 version because I always played it on PC and I was used to the one of Anakin's racer coming at you, which again is fairly standard, but it's an exciting graphic. It's like
Yeah, it's got a good sense of movement, and that's my biggest issue is you got this racing game, and there's no sense of movement to this box art. Like, it almost looks like the pod racers are just little Hot Wheels, like sitting on the shelf or something.
yeah, you don't even really notice the pod races right away. Like
Yeah,
it's like Watto sticks out to you because it's just kind of weird and creepy that he's sort of like staring at you. And then yeah, and almost like he's like what do they even mean with this? Like because Watto's it it's like they're making him like the villain.
yeah,
And yeah, like yeah, he's a slaver and he owns Anakin and he's not exactly a up and up kind of guy, but it's just like the way they have him on here, it's like as if he's the Bulba, like he's you
yeah.
know,
It's like they're making him like the antagonist, like just like the big bad guy of the whole game. And it's like it's a racing game. It's
And then you fire up the game, and it's like, like for those who don't know, like I don't know if it was the same voice actor who did it, but
it
Watto,
was Andy Secombe.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
he narrates the menus kind of. So his presence in the game is very comical.
And I love that bit too, that where it's just Watto basically humming to himself the Figrin Dan's Cantina Band theme,
yes.
and it's like and just subtle enough a way that like it I because I remember the first time hearing it, not realizing he's doing because he's doing a very gruff. It's Andy Secombe doing like hey, like those are like some haze in there, which obviously aren't in the but then but I loved that audio of him singing that song so much. I remember making it the or getting the wave file back in the day and making it my computer shutdown sound.
Oh, I like
Yes.
that. I was gonna say that'd be a good ringtone too. That'd be a really fun ringtone.
Yeah. That would be a
Um,
good one.
So Episode 1 Racer was originally going to be released as Star Wars Pod Racer, but deep into development, LucasArts learned that all the exclusive rights to use the word pod in a video game title belonged to Ubisoft. Did you guys ever play Planet of Death Racing?
Oh,
I don't
never
think
heard of
so.
it.
Really? I mean, I didn't like it. It was one of those games that like when you got your computer from Circuit City, you got like a free game. And so, as a kid, you're like, well, it's a free game. I'm going to play a free game. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. But so they owned the rights to the
Free.
word pod in a video game at the time. So they had to just call it Racer. The game Episode 1 Racer features a number of aspects of the Phantom Menace that were cut from the theatrical release, including Racer's Clegg Holdfast, Odie Mandrell, and Sebulba's concealed flamethrower weapon that's used multiple times in the extended pod race. Brian, you were big into the Blu-ray
Hold
re-release.
on, you're saying Odie Mandrell is not in the movie, but he is.
Okay, maybe
What
I
was
got
what
the
was the
wrong
other
name.
what was the
Cle
other pod racer you mentioned?
Clegg Holdfast?
Yeah, Clegg Holdfast is in. I mean, Clegg Holdfast is more or less in the background, but like,
Okay.
yeah. Odie Mandrell was the guy who stops with a pit stop after the first lap, and the pit droid gets sucked through his engine, and he goes like,
Okay.
"Oh no." That's Odie Mandrell. I know my pod racers, man. I could.
So,
It wasn't because of this game. It was because of Young
Young
Jedi
Jedi.
CCG
Young
that
Jedi.
I yeah, which I obsessively collected, which was the CCG entirely based only on the Phantom Menace.
So
And
every single background character who's there for like a single shot had like a card and a foil version and like
yeah, they mined that one movie for what it was for like 6 or 7 expansions or something. But I mean, not that I'm necessarily proud of it per se, but I feel like I could probably, maybe with a little bit of time and a pen and paper, list you all 18 pod racers from the Boon to Eve Classic.
do you
So
still have your complete Young Jedi set somewhere?
I do, yeah. It's actually in a binder.
Wow. Josh, did you ever complete like a card collection? Like, did you ever collect tradable trading
Oh, I
cards?
have. I mean, literally have so many cards down here on my side. You can't see it. Probably see one of the binders here. Uh,
Nice.
but yeah,
Star Wars
no,
CCG?
no. So I've learned to avoid the big ones. Like, obviously, don't
I
touch
getcha.
Pokemon because you're never going to get what you want. And also learned Magic and Star Wars. You avoid because those are not oversaturated, but there's so many people who already play it and have been playing it for
I get
since
you.
the beginning of time. It's like it's not worth it. So I go for like the newer stuff
Like, give me one example.
of current that I'm collecting.
Yeah.
Union Arena.
Oh. All
It's a
right.
Bandai
Oh, yeah.
Namco. Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds neat.
It's basically they cover all of, like the big animes. So like these sets they have come out now. They just did Solo Leveling. We're about to get reincarnated as a slime monster and ReZero.
That excited somebody. It went way over my head.
Hey, no, that's okay. I trust me. I get it because I just did Evangelion, Neo Genesis Evangelion.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of that one at least.
Oh yeah. Brian and I were big on that show in high
Oh,
school.
yeah.
So I just collected those. They just had a theatrical release back in November of last year.
Okay. And are these like trading cards, or are they actual game?
It's both. So they are
Okay.
trading cards, but it is a game that I also play. I think
I got you.
this is actually other ones, but just give you. Well, I'll show you these ones too. But the other one I do is Universes, and I specifically do My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Honestly, like I'm kind of with you in that, like, because I used to collect so many card games, particularly Decipher, because that was back when Decipher.
oh,
It was
that's a good
before,
one.
yeah, before Wizards of the Coast got the Star Wars license. Decipher would make Star Wars CCG, Young Jedi CCG, Jedi Knights was one that wasn't as popular, but and also didn't look as good, which is probably why I didn't really collect it. My point being that there were all these games that I never really played the games themselves. I mostly just wanted to collect the cards. And so, if a big part of it for me, a big part of the draw was like how good the cards look, the presentation of it itself, because I'm not playing the game, the mechanics of it. And that's part of why I really loved Young Jedi, and even more so Star Wars CCG. This that brushed metal and kind of look to
Mhm.
them, like they were just gorgeous, gorgeous cards. And but yeah, it's been a long time since I've been into card collecting, and especially as an adult now, the more I collecting, I feel like it's become a little bit more of a uh, I get pickier and pickier with it, because the more and more I realize, like, do I have someplace to put this right now? Do I have
Right.
someplace to display this right
I
now?
mean, not only that though, but are you going to be able to afford it? Because I mean, I've got friends who are like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm dropping $400 or $500 right now," and I just bought $500 worth last week, and it's like,
Yeah, collecting gets expensive, and
what? First off, what do you do for your living? Because I don't want to have your job. You're dropping $1,000 on cards in
Yeah.
like a span
right.
of a month. Come on.
You're like, I should
Yeah.
probably feed my new child. I should
Like,
probably.
as much as I want to collect all these cards, guys, I've got a kid to feed. I mean, I'm obviously not a skinny boy. I'm a big boy. I need my food.
You
I
gotta
love
get your
food so much.
sandwiches.
Priorities, man, and inflation and everything. You just got to get
Uh-huh.
pickier and pickier. Like so. Whereas before, I used to be the like yeah, every anything and everything Star Wars, but yeah, it's just you get more of a refined taste, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know who else had refined tastes? LucasArts legend Tim Schafer, the director of comedy adventure Grim Fandango. That's a cult classic. I don't know if you guys ever messed with
Oh
that one.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
He was working in the office next door while they were developing Pod Racer, or excuse me,
a
Racer, not
racer.
Pod Racer.
No, it's
Yeah,
funny you mentioned that because I was gonna say when you mentioned before that they had to drop the pod legally. I feel like so many people, even people who know and love this game,
call it Pod
intentionally or
Racer.
otherwise, still call it pod racer. So I
Yeah.
mean, naturally we do because it's about pod racing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just racer.
So like, apparently Tim Schafer would pop his head in and kind of schmooze with the Racer devs, and one day asked, "Hey, what are you gonna put me in the credits for?" And the Star Wars Racer developers are like, "You didn't help with anything," and he said, "That's true, but on the other hand, I did nothing to hurt it." So this led the devs to credit him in the Racer credits as Tim Schafer, colon, never actively trying to sabotage the project. I thought that was fun.
I
And
love
then
that.
That's
this
hilarious.
game did have a sequel, Star Wars Racer Revenge. It was released, re-released on the PlayStation 4 in 2014, and
Wasn't
it
it
is
called Sebulba's Revenge?
no, it was Racer Revenge.
Oh,
Yeah,
Racer Revenge. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Star Wars Racer Revenge. But did you guys know why Star Wars Racer Revenge on the PS4 is one of the most sought after used games on the internet? Like they're going for 500, $600 right now.
Really?
Did you hear about this?
I'm going to
Uh,
assume it has probably something to do with licensing, but
You'd think that, but
it's just
it
like
was
significantly less popular than the first game, but
so
yeah, sorry.
in December of 2025, there was a rare glitch discovered on the PlayStation 4 re-release. The limited run did a re-release, and it can be used to jailbreak the PlayStation 5.
I do kind of remember hearing this now.
Yeah, and the big thing is that it can do that in offline mode. So there's like no way for like Sony to catch it and stop it, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
So if you have a copy of Star Wars Racer Revenge for the PS4, you hold on to that bad boy. It is incredibly valuable.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
s-
yeah, I'm looking at it, the page for Racer Revenge right now, and it's just talking about how I guess all the demand for it skyrocketed as of this year.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Well, because there had previously been no discovered way, and I'm not condoning jailbreaking, but like
Sure.
this was a big get for that community. Who try to, use the consoles however they want. And yeah, it's a hot commodity.
That's crazy that they discovered it so many years later because that game came out in 2002. It's a
Right.
very old game.
Yeah. Well, this is the PlayStation 4 re-release.
Oh, I
So
see. Okay.
2014. But still, though, that's what, 12
That's
years?
14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
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 crazy.
a dynamic space. What can you say? So, before we get to the Joy Pros and Joy Cons of Episode One Racer, what's our history with this game and how far have we gotten? Josh, can we start with you?
So originally, as a kid, when I played it, not probably not when it first came out, but maybe like a year or two after it did. I'm gonna tell you right now, Kid Me was a terrible gamer. I've gone back and played games where I was a kid. I was like, man, this game's really hard, and played as an adult and said, man, Kid Me was so dumb. As an adult, I did finish it, and I tried my best not to do any of like the cheeses and stuff like that you can do with it. So I did complete it.
You
Like I,
Nintendo did.
yes,
Good job, Josh.
but yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Brian, have you beaten Episode One Racer, and what's your history with the game?
Uh, to be certain, I think I have, but I can't say with absolute certainty because I know I played a lot. I know I actually, you know what? Don't even bother because I can't confirm.
I don't know. I was
If
gonna leave it up to
anything,
Josh. Do I
well,
play it, Josh?
Play it.
I'm playing it. Brian probably Nintendo did.
well, to preface that, it's because I remember playing the hell out of the demo. But then
Oh,
and then eventually getting the full game. But and I love the full game as well. But a lot of my nostalgia weirdly is around the demo because I didn't have the full game right away. I think I got it maybe a year later or so. And the demo was basically the Tatooine level, and my Star Wars kid heart was like, well, it's the one in the movie. What do you what more do you need? And eventually, came to get the full game and for PC, like I mentioned before, because I did not get that weird Watto cover. I got the cool one with Anakin's racer coming at you, and then quickly I fell in love with the rest of the maps and everything. So I'm fairly certain I did beat it, but I'm in turn because of how much I played that demo and then before I played the full game. I have a lot of nostalgia, especially for that Tatooine track, which of course is the one in the movie. So yeah, it's definitely the one I put the most hours into. It's just that map, and even in the full game, I feel like I always went back to it just because it's like, hey, it's like that little that's Beggar's Canyon. It's that little gap where you had to turn sideways, and you
Yeah.
know, yeah, there's just
It's a
something about the Tatooine arena.
Yeah, it's evokes the feelings of the movie the most directly,
Yeah.
and that is, I mean, that's such a sick sequence. So, I loved this game as a kid. Mike had it, and I would always want to borrow it from him. And like, my family did tend to have more games, but there was a few games that I didn't get, and Mike did, and so I remember like. I would loan Mike like 3 or 4 games to get this one game. You know what I mean? Like we had like a whole barter system, but we both really loved it as kids. And then I got the Dreamcast re-release for dirt cheap when that console was dying. So I was kind of nervous about this game because, as we stated, or maybe we didn't make it clear enough, this game is unfortunately not included in Nintendo Classics. It is available for purchase on the Switch. And on computer and a couple other consoles as well. But since it's not a Nintendo Classics game, that meant I couldn't rely on my rewinding and my save states. Like if I was going to Nintendo do this, I had to do it as an honest man. And so I've been grinding away at it, but I'm pleased to say that I Nintendo did beat this game as well.
Hey.
ファミリーコンピュータ
And it felt
Good
good.
job.
Josh, we joked about doing this episode, it feels like over a year ago at this point.
Yeah.
So I would love to throw it to you first for the Joy Pros. What do we like about this futuristic racer?
Well, my first thought is, of course, the Nintendo 64 is the console. Like that was like the peak console as far as like I have 4 other brothers, just 5 of us. So we had to share everything. I had to share a Super Nintendo, I had to share a Nintendo, I had to share my Sega Saturn, my Dreamcast. I mean, literally every console you can think of, we had to share. Up until the 360 is when we finally were like, no, we're all going to get our own consoles. And that was probably the first time ever that we had multiple of one console, not because we broke it, but because we wanted it.
Ah,
So it made me appreciate a lot more of the games now as an adult going back. And one of the joys that I absolutely loved about this game is they did what F-Zero couldn't do. They made a fast-paced, and it's not that F-Zero was bad. I understand that F-Zero was one of the early developed games for the Nintendo 64, and there was a lot of pressure running on them. But I think LucasArts came in and destroyed what could have been F-Zero. And I think that's why everybody hates F-Zero, even up into the GameCube. And it's well deserved. Like it's so fast paced, and you can see it, but at the same time, it's really not that fast paced. Where F-Zero, they tried to do it, and you can never really tell.
yeah. I think the genius of this game is that you watch Phantom Menace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that is the standout sequence. Maybe there's a case for the double bladed lightsaber fight, but it's like it's such a moment, and your adrenaline's pumping, and it's so exciting, and you've never really seen anything quite like this in a movie before. And then the game comes out, and you're like, whoa, that's amazing! I can't wait to play. Right? You pick it up the controller, and it is exactly as fast as you would hoped it would be.
Mm-hmm.
It nailed the feeling of the pod race sequence. And like in the past games, I've been disappointed. There'd be a Batman game where it's like, oh, you're playing the Batmobile, but it doesn't feel like you're in the Batmobile because you're blowing up too easily and your movement's so limited. But this game puts you on these enormous tracks, these tracks that are miles and miles long and so wide. And so when you're ripping through it, you actually get a sensation of speed because there's unique architecture and environments whipping past you that you only see for half a second. F-Zero, I do also like F-Zero, but you're on this confined track. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have the visual comparison of where I am and where I just was. And Oh, I could gush about it so much, but the sensation of speed, the developers said that their goal was to make an eyeball peeling sense of speed where you feel nervous the whole time playing. And I mission accomplished for me.
No,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
If anything, it's very evocative of the fact that like in universe, they talk about how Anakin is the only human who can do this. The whole idea is that pod racing is so fast, it requires such lightning fast reflexes. Humans are physically incapable. You gotta be a Doug, you gotta be a Gazgano, or you gotta be some spindly creature with weird, like so inherently, obviously we're all humans playing this game. Um, to give it that feel of like this is something that even humans should barely be able to do um uh came across and just like the way you mentioned, Jeremy, the depth, the depth and the scale that they make you feel, not just in the backgrounds but also in the speed that which you're going through these things, and also just the creativity of like, because obviously pod racers, you know compared to like NASCAR or any other kind of racing in the real world, they're not on the ground. They're on they're on turbo lifts. They're technically slightly flying, but there's you could imagine that a game like this could easily um, not differentiate very much from a grounded kind of wheel-based vehicle kind of racing system. But there are maps here, like the one that always sticks out in my mind is the Uvo 4 map, because that's the one where you fall through those anti-gravity tunnels, and
Mm.
like they give you a good feeling of scope and scale, and for lack of a better term, Star Warsiness. There's a certain flair and uniqueness to every map that gives it yeah, that makes it just feel very much like it's in universe, and this is actually this is pod racing.
Yeah. It's immersive in that way, and I think they use the license really well. Because like you mentioned the anti-gravity segment, which is really thrilling because first of all, you're now kind of actually flying. For these next 10 seconds, you are like in free flight because there's no more floor,
Yeah,
right? But then you're
flying around because there ain't
there
no
ain't no
ground.
ground. Come on, Randy Newman, calm down. But so then you have the anti-gravity segment where you're flying through, but now you're having to dodge rocks and debris, which is a
Yeah,
very Star Wars visual of having to navigate around kind of through the asteroid belt. And there's even a part where you go through some kind of big engine room and there's some kind of big energy core, and it kind of evokes the Death Star core. But
yeah.
but there's no moment where it's like, oh, this is the Death Star track, or oh, Darth Maul's in this game. It's like it's all very grounded in the pod racing circuit. And we're seeing these things that evoke the memories and feelings of Star Wars we like without breaking that the immersion. I'm a big fan of it. Do you like the Star Warsiness of it, Josh?
Oh yeah. I mean, there is. I don't know. Am I allowed to get into the not so, like, if I'm gonna nitpick something here?
You can tease the con.
Oh, I won't tease it just then. I mean, really, they just did a great job. Honestly, it doesn't feel like your typical racer, but it also doesn't feel like it's a ripoff of a known racer either. I think they did a really great job of, like you said, taking the license and honestly just going. I mean, they just really, LucasArts had a phenomenal team just working on all of their games from what I think it was 90, at least 95 to honestly, and really until they were bought out. And honestly, there wasn't a single one that I'm like, oh, it was terrible. Well, don't get me wrong, there's like one or two, but everybody's allowed one or two. No, but no, this is one of those, like, honestly, if you told me I can't take Mario Kart, I can't take uh F-Zero. Like, I had to pick one racing. Like, sure, yeah, I'll take Racer. Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with it? It's great. Like, is the online or the multiplayer good? No. Let's be honest. No. Local play not really that good, and then the multiplayer, it's almost impossible. But at the same time, I don't care. I want to race against. Give me a mode where I can like make the bots even harder.
Hmm.
That'd be cool. I'd play that more. But like, no, it's a great game. There's everything. There's nothing that I constantly nitpick as far as like, would I take it from like a 10 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10? No. It's good enough where it's like, yeah, as far as a game though, for what it is, I would say it's high up there. It does a really great job with its environment, with its gameplay handling. I mean, even just the selection of your parts. They do. I mean, literally, there's that's what's forgotten in a lot of these more modern games is just being able to sit down and visually change out parts and seeing how not only it looks on your vehicle, but then how it's going to make your vehicle perform.
Yeah.
I miss
Yeah.
those.
There's so much personality and character in this game, way more than they had to do. So like I was playing the other day and I remember this I had this flash of memory of Mike and I as kids. And on the second Tatooine track, because okay, so the tracks are enormous and they're branching pathways. And to create different tracks, the devs kind of just put little gates to kind of shunt you down certain branches. But what's cool is that in the later parts of the tournament, they kind of open that up. And some of the tracks, you might not see an opponent for a while because you're all on wildly different paths, kind of
Mhm.
cross trekking through the countryside of this alien planet. It's a really cool feeling. But in the final Tatooine track, you do this little jump over kind of like a hole in the ground. And I remember Mike and I being like, was that what I think it was? So we slam on our pod racer brakes, turn around. It's the freaking Sarlacc pit. And you can see the Sarlacc mouth. And you would never see that
Mhm.
because the
Right.
game
It's going
the
right
game
over.
doesn't, yeah, you go right over it and you're going so fast. But they thought to put that in there. When we were playing multiplayer versus, Brian went off the side of a suspension bridge and crashed
Yeah.
into like a frozen gorge, but there were like tents and little
Yeah.
flagpoles and things where he landed, and there's no way you could get there without blowing up. So they could have just made it a bottomless pit and we never would have cared. But all those little details, I just loved it so much. Mike, Brian, I think you were feeling it too.
Yeah, no, definitely the level of detail around it, and even just the way that like, because I didn't even really realize. I'm not sure if I realized when I was a kid what playing it through, like, because the second time you go to Tatooine, it's not exactly because there's the Bunta training course that you start out with, but also very much evocative of what you see even in, obviously we only see Tatooine in the movie, but you see that there's those area, there's that gated area, like all like that service ramp or something, or like almost like there's a second course that Anakin gets pushed off into, and he uses that to his advantage to sort of overtake Sebulba. But just the level of detail that they put into every little into areas that you don't normally that you can, yeah, like you said, Jeremy, you can only really see if you're gonna die there or like crash in a certain way. But then I loved the ways that like I'm not certain if it was maybe the first time we ever really saw Malice stare in uh in some sort of I mean maybe in expanded universe novels or stuff like that, but and Malastare had always been a thing. Like the Malastarians are the three-eyed aliens, so they've been around since whatchamacallit, since Return of the Jedi. But I always love that little detail of like, because Qui-Gon, when he gets asked about pod racing, there's that one quick line where he just mentions, "Oh yeah, there's pod racing on Malastare. It's very fast, very dangerous." And they made sure that Malastare was represented as a map in this, so this is the way that they clearly put their time and energy and every little detail of Star Wars that they could just inject into it. It made it feel very much in universe, made it feel very canon, and in turn, it gave us some of our first looks at some of these planets that had already been established, and I'm sure many that were original to the game too.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want to sleep on Josh's point about like the swapping out the parts. The menus of this game are fun
Yeah,
because we mentioned how Watto doesn't just sing though. He like kind of grumbles and like, oh, they come to my store, they ruin, like why they no buy, nobody buy, and it's like it's little personality, but then there's also other racers kind of middling about and kind of
Mm.
walking around the menus. You can buy little pit droids and they'll hop up and walk off to go work on your vehicle. I didn't know until researching for this episode that when you buy things from Watto's junkyard, you get it cheaper, but the parts are damaged and you need
Mhm.
and the pit droids will be improving the quality of the part between races.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know
Wow.
about that mechanic at all, Josh. But what's
Yeah.
cool,
So,
yeah, go.
go ahead.
No, 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 please, please.
I was gonna say, so that's one of the cheeses I remember as a kid is to get better stuff, you're supposed to start the race and then you're supposed to quit out. That way, when you came back, not only was there more inventory, but they had already had a huge amount of time with your stuff that you could actually go back and either use it or sell it.
Yeah, and it's cool though
Nice.
because there is
Yeah.
an option to inspect vehicle, and I always thought it was just, oh, here's a cool look of the character model, and that's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
camera mode, but you can also see what the pit droids are working on,
Yeah.
so you know which part is going to be fixed. And I was like, that is just so freaking neat.
And it's really detailed. They did a great
Yeah,
job. Like the smallest thing, like I said, we don't appreciate it enough as modern gamers because it kind of felt like this is a part of it that's left out. Where now, as an adult, you go back to all these other games, you're like, man, kind of miss the good old days of Gran Turismo 1 and 2. I miss Speed Racer. Was okay. Episode 1 Racer. I want to keep saying Pod Racer. I'm like, no, we have to be correct.
yeah.
No,
But it's
yeah.
like there's just so much detail, and it's like, man, I wish the developers would go back to this. This is so great.
Yeah.
And not to mention so in line with what they're. I mean, like the implication being all these pod racers are know their machines are or in the case of Anakin basically building it, like so the whole idea is to constantly. I mean, I know there's other racing games that are like that where you can modify and be the mechanic for your own vehicle, but they definitely got that feel across that of you constantly tinkering with your pod racer. It definitely got that vibe so well done.
I have a potentially juicy question, but like, so I genuinely loved Watto as a character, but I know that some people find him like kind of like offensive, and like he's kind of like a stereotype. But my whole thing about that was that when I saw it as a kid, I didn't think about that at all, and it wasn't until people said, "Well, he's offensive because of this," and I was like, "Oh, well." I see your point, but also now you made me think that, and I wasn't thinking that before. To me, he was just like this alien species. But I also know that there's a very academic argument for like the characters in Phantom Menace being like racial stereotypes. Do you guys have an opinion on that?
I feel like I think there's a lot of merit to the criticisms, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it can be sometimes, at least in the case of somebody like Watto, I feel like it's a little bit ambiguous enough that it's not necessarily so on the nose, but I'm not going to tell somebody that that if they feel like it's because it does lead into tropes that are associated with Jewish people that's what a lot of people cite, particularly with Watto. That Yeah, I can see why, and totally don't negate if somebody feels like it leaned into maybe a little bit offensive or leaned into some of those tropes in a way that were a little too on the nose, but it's just yeah, that didn't strike me when I was what we were 13 when it came out, like
Yeah.
but if anything, over time I started to realize, yeah, there's some merit to some of this, but I don't, to each their own, I guess. It's, in terms of how it makes you feel. Because I
Right.
definitely feel like, could people criticize the Nemoidians of sounding stereotypically Asian? And I remember kind of hearing that. Yeah, I think there's maybe a little bit more merit to that as opposed to maybe Watto, but it's all. I mean, I think it's all healthy discussion. To at least highlight situations where you might be intentionally or otherwise, because I don't feel like it was necessarily intentional, but it does. There's a reason why people say like it does sort of follow certain tropes that I think understandably many people were offended by.
Yeah. I like how you said that. Like you said, healthy discussion. I like that approach. I'm gonna steal that, Brian. You're a smart
Sure.
guy. Um, but back to the racing game. How cool is the boost, Josh? Do you like the boost mechanic? I'm
I
veering the pod racer back on track. Oh, no, 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 no,
I
no, 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 no. We're gonna land it.
I love it, and I don't love it in the
Oh
sense of like,
no.
yes, I well, no, don't get me wrong. I love it in the sense that it does a great job of like emphasizing, hey, you it's everybody's dream of watching like Fast and Furious, the
Yeah.
first movie. Hey, we're
No,
gonna
like
put the nitros in, and we're gonna yeah,
not.
you get that nos in there, boom, you're gonna go. Yes, they got that right. Where I don't like it, I think, is in the very tight sections are corners, but it's a racing game. I mean, if you're not paying attention, if you're not carefully planning out what you're doing, which it's kind of hard to do here, yeah, you're going to crash into the wall. You're going to lose one of your propulsions, and you're going to, crash and have to wait to respawn and then drive forward. It happens.
What I really like about it is that to activate the boost, you have to hold forward on your thumbstick or joystick. So you need to be watching the track for where can I have a straightaway that's long enough for me to charge this boost. And
Mhm.
then once your meter fills up, you get that like clong or whatever
Yeah.
like that noise. That was I can't do it. But it's the afterburner sound, which is
Yes.
straight from Phantom Menace, and it hits every time that sound hits. I get a thrill, and you take off. You like almost double your speed, and you see the heat of your engines going ding 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 ding
Mhm.
ding, ding, and you have to ease off and let your engine cool, or it's gonna catch on fire. And there's Tusken Raiders shooting at you in the final Tatooine track, and you hear them like, "Hur, hur, hur," and like, and they're making your engine catch on fire. And there's so many little things to micromanage that you really kind of feel like that moment where Anakin's engine has broken and he's having to keep his cool and fix that while still steering. And Sebulba's being an asshole over here. And it's just like, I'm sorry.
I mean, I no, I mean, I especially towards like the last few races, I definitely felt like I almost felt like I had to keep doing turbo in the most awkward spots. I
Yeah.
felt like I was forced to.
Right.
It was because there's no way you're keeping up with them if you didn't.
Well, if anything, like just recently, I played the game for the first time in many years with Jaymo, and in part because it had been so long, I didn't use it that much because, like you said, like you have to use it very strategically. If you don't remember, like, oh, you got a turn coming right up, that's a bad place to fire it. Like try to
Mhm.
find your open straightaways, and then to make the most out of it without crashing and burning. But if anything, like yeah, like Jeremy said, it's that they brilliantly work in so much of the familiar sound effects that Ben Burtt created, and like so many of the sounds that yeah, it just particularly those boost noises, those like even yeah, just the whole game, let alone the boost feature, just so well incorporates those familiar sounds, like just that Sebulba chugging kind of like it's just the soundscape of the game. It's just masterfully done, especially in those moments where you boost, and you just gotta choose the right moments to do it. Like the other day when playing with Jaymo and our friend Lisa, she definitely fired up that boot, like the one where she overtook me at the
It was so
last
thrilling.
second. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, hats off to you. I just lost to you, but like, bravo.
Well, and also, Josh kind of this game was catching strays right away because Josh was saying like, "Oh, the multiplayer is bad." Brian, I thought it ran pretty. I mean, so it was interesting when I was watching you and Lisa play. And hi, Lisa, if you're listening. I was like, "Oh, the frame rate is kind of not as good as single player," and I didn't really know what to expect as far as how it would feel to race against you guys. But once I had my hands on the controller, it kind of felt really comparable to what I remember as the single player mode. And Lisa didn't really play this game nearly as much as we did, but she was picking up some wins and she kind of took to it rather quickly. And you can have up to 6 AI opponents. I wish it was 4 players. It's really hard to go from F-Zero X being a 4 player racer and then coming to this. I don't know, Josh, if you agree, but there's just something sad about a 2 player N64 game. It just always bugged me.
I mean, I get it because of limitations. Because this is also one of their few games that actually required you to have the expansion pack to be
Did
able
it?
to play it on the N64. I
Huh.
think we were required to, at least for multiplayer. I don't know so much about the single player, but I think even on the box art it says that it's required.
Yeah, I think
Um,
there's textures that are completely missing if you don't have it, so the game
yeah,
actually gets harder.
so it makes sense that yeah, you're gonna need to, because even then, if you look back at like Rogue Squadron, like that struggled to even play, and I don't even think you needed the expansion to play those. Um, but for being remastered onto a more modern consoles like the Switch, PlayStation 4, PC, I don't see the problem with it. The problem becomes the limitation of being able to take something that was built in '99 and play it on something that's 2014.
Right.
It Yes, it's nice. Yes, it can do. Yes, you're going to get your constant 60 frames per second. But that's kind of where it ends. Your limitation then becomes how well can an old game engine run
Yeah.
with as much extra features that were never really intended for it.
That's fair. That's fair. And Brian, you played this on the PC back in the day. So if we can kind of
Yeah.
start our Joy-Cons a little bit, the Windows version had 8-player LAN multiplayer.
Hmm.
And so I have to believe, now I'm full disclosure, I don't know how programming works. I'm pretty dumb when it comes to coding stuff. But Brian, I think you have some knowledge about networking stuff. If they had a local area network multiplayer code in the Windows release, would it be so hard to put online in the re-release and just make it like private lobbies? Like, I'm not saying like I need like servers and things, but if Josh has it on the Switch and I have it on the Switch and the old game had a local area network, could you not just treat the internet as that LAN and give me that online gaming? Am I being dumb?
Well, I don't know. I mean, honestly, you might know better than I, but I feel I would love such a thing. And I would like to think that it wouldn't require too much extra work and coding to make such a thing available, because I would love a version of the classic game that we know, but but just really expand the multiplayer capabilities. It's one thing I never really dabbled in because, like I said, I only really played on PC, and I only really played by myself. So I wasn't literally when you and I and Lisa played. I think that might have been the first time I played multiplayer in Racer. So um, yeah, but it would God, such a thing like that would be nice to just have the classic game, but really expand the multiplayer capability. So yeah, I'm there
Well,
with you in that. Like at the very least, if as long as it wouldn't be too difficult to do, I'd love for them to
he,
add that. Yeah.
here, as somebody who is a IT/programmer guy, I'll
Oh
tell you
yeah, go for
this:
it. Yeah.
it
Do it.
is not a difficult thing to do, but that's just it. You're a kid. You want to go buy something at the store. Mom, Dad, I've got the money. I want to buy this.
Hmm.
All right, is mom and dad going to let you? Depends. Is it, are you getting Grand Theft Auto? Probably not. So, or okay, maybe you don't have all the money. Maybe you have like a couple bucks. Mom, Dad, I want to buy this. Well, they don't want to pay all that extra money for it. So yeah, they're going to tell you no, you can't have it. You've got that at home. You've got pod racing at home. You guys go play that. You don't need this multiplayer. No, but of all
Sure.
seriousness, it's for modern day. It's probably more of an issue because there's no reason to have to put all this resources into a game that's already made. Put a nice little shiny coat of paint, make it run really nice. We're going to re-release it. We're going to slap the $20 on there. We're going to sell 200,000 units and make an easy 2 million. Like that's the idea. Let's make something really quick so we have something in our portfolio for more for the Mandalorian and Grogu. That's what we're
Right.
going to make this money for. That's what we want. Beyond that, it's like unless you get like a cult following, like nowadays it's easier. You've got modders and it's very wide known, so someone's probably already done it. Someone's already made some type of says, yeah, you
Mhm.
download this, you can play it. Is it going to be to every console? Unfortunately, no. Nintendo's very stingy about fourth party is what they usually call it, but an extra third party coming in.
Mhm.
PlayStation's a little similar with that. They're starting to get a little less. Microsoft, they're a toss up. I mean, really, PC is the biggest spot you're going to see it in. But even then, there's ways around that. I'm sure someone's come up with a way for Switch and PC to be able to play at the same time. It's just a matter of actually looking around and seeing who actually enjoyed it and who built it.
Yeah.
So it does exist, and I agree. I would love to have 8 people race on here. That'd be freaking awesome. I want
Yeah.
to crash. I want to purposely crash into people. That sounds really cool.
Well,
But
so
yeah, you're right. If anything, like if you're going to put in that extra effort to add that capability, then why not just do a fresh remake of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, to upgrade everything, and if anything, yeah, I think we all would love such a thing. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe now's the time to do such. I mean, I know obviously we have a game coming out that's very evocative of it, and they're probably and I'm sure they're factoring in the nostalgia and the popularity of games like Racer.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
You're referring to Star Wars Galactic Racer, the upcoming Star
yes,
Wars racing game, and the first Star Wars racing game since Super Bombad Racing, I think.
really?
The Mario Kart clone, set in Phantom Menace. But
Oh man,
that trailer cracked me up so much because, like, first of all, I'm just
yeah.
stoked. I'm just stoked for. I love when IPs have different types of games. I wish more things
Mhm.
did that, But the trailer's going and it's like, oh, you can play as a speeder bike and you can play as like this speeder car and it's all these cool Star Wars vehicles. And then the whole time I'm thinking like, where's the pod racer? I want a pod racer. And then at the end of the trailer, you see the pod racer. And
Yeah.
you're thinking like, all right, Sebulba or like sexy older Anakin. It's Ben Quadraneros, and he's like, and if they do this big reveal, like we're gonna gasp at Ben Quadraneros. And my favorite YouTube comment was like, somehow Ben Quadraneros returned, and it was like, so funny. I'm
Look, I
very
know, Josh, that you have a soft spot for old Ben and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Ben Quadinaros, best Ben. Come on.
best Ben.
Not wrong, not wrong at all. But I still have. I mean, there's a reason why Obi-Wan is my Jesus. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
No,
Uh,
we love old Ben, but I mean, yeah, but Ben Quadinaros, that was such a great little cameo to work in there, and then he's finally getting his due. He finally, because we never saw him race.
right.
He just literally just blew up.
What if
So,
in the new game his car just blows or his pod blows up at the start of every race? Like
oh,
you just
Yes.
he's
um
sort of like a joke character, like a Dan for Street Fighter
yeah,
or
oh that'd be
something.
funny.
Yeah.
My two biggest Joy-Cons are kind of tying into what Josh said, but like with this re-release, they added one new thing for the Switch, and that's motion controls. And what's interesting is that you can have each Joy-Con represent a separate engine, and so you can control them independently with tilt. And so, Brian, I wanted to try this. We got to try this sometime. You hold one, I'll hold the other, and we'll see if we can like sync it up. Which is,
just like co-pilots, like what's a
yeah,
Pacific Rim style,
Pacific Rim style.
right?
But my bummer though is that I really wish they had done it so that you held the Joy Cons horizontally,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you could have the controls like Anakin actually has, or like in the oft
Yeah.
forgotten Star Wars Pod Racer arcade game, where you have the two different tilts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you could have done that with the gyros of the Switch Joy-Con.
No, literally
Um,
just watching you turn your hands like that, instantly, like, yeah, why did I mean? Because you see that image of Anakin with, it's like, I mean, it gives you that handlebar feeling,
yeah,
because not every racer has something. Because I mean, Sebulba, I don't think is like, I don't, yeah, I mean, but we're so used to Anakin with those handles, and especially like you mentioned the arcade game that was
yeah.
just like there was something just really cool about that. So yeah, a missed opportunity. Although it's funny you mentioned, because like when we played, when Lisa and I were playing, we didn't realize that the motion control was on, and it just led to a really hilarious moment because we're just like we're struggling to figure out, wait, which screen am I like, and just not being able to determine for a while until Jeremy realized, oh, sorry, motion controls on. Like, oh, okay, we're idiots.
But that's also weird though, because like, Josh was talking about how little effort they put into this re-release. Because if I change the motion control in single player, it changes it for both first and second player. Like that's weird that we
Oh
can't
yeah,
have separate control schemes in a modern game, you
yeah.
know? So I'm happy to have this. I'm happy to still be able to access it, but I'm just kind of like, meh, like you kind of get a C for effort, but the game is so good that you get a pass.
Yep.
I
Mm.
don't know. Um,
If
and then
anything,
my
all the more reason why, the more reason for them to just make a. I mean, I know we're getting Galactic Racer, and there's Ben Quadnaris in there, but the opportunities you could think of to make it to kind of improve upon what was done before. But I'm glad, at least, I'm excited to see at least how, hopefully more than Ben Quadnaris, if there's other pod racers that you can do, that you can that'll be available in Galactic Racer. But if anything, I'm excited that Galactic Racer is working in all sorts of different kinds of speeders. You mentioned the speeder bike, and I think in the trailer you see a speeder that's, if not exactly, at least the same kind of model of the one that Han Solo rides in Corellia at the beginning of Solo, which I always just sort of like the look of that speeder. And obviously with any kind of speeder like in Star Wars, you can just, you see all sorts of, there's a huge variety of just repulsor based speeding vehicles. So I just love that they're throwing them all into one racing game, including pod racers. So
yeah.
um, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of improve upon what they've done before.
Well, so last question, because I don't know if there's a Joy-Con or Joy Pro, but Josh, did you say you played this on the N64 back in the day?
I did.
So I don't know about you, but I always thought as a kid I didn't really understand how, games worked, and so I thought the decision to only have music in the final lap was really cool and
Mm.
climactic. But it was a space saving technique. To save space on the cartridge, they only had music for the final lap,
Oh,
and the re-release has music the whole time. So I kind of miss the days where it was just the cool sound effects and the one no 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 for two
Hmm.
laps, and then you hit that third lap and Duel of the Fates kicks in, and your
I
nipples,
mean,
it's so good.
John Williams at the last lap of every race. Yes, please.
And
yeah,
I
That's
no,
the way to
right.
go.
and I think if you have John Williams the whole time, I think it's just a little bit over saturation. I don't know.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, if anything, it's exactly like it is in the Phantom Menace. The first two laps have no music, but then it's that last lap. Well, maybe not the full last lap, but it's basically when things start going wrong for Anakin. From
Mm,
from, from that moment that if you're Sebulba pulls that piece, and when it starts to fail on him is when the music kicks in, and then suddenly you feel that tension because it's not just music, it's John Williams like tension music. Like it reminds me of like Jurassic Park when Grant and Tim are climbing out of the car in the tree, and there's no music until the car starts sinking
yeah,
after them, and
yeah.
then the music kicks in, and you're like, oh my god, now my heart's
Mhm.
pounding. So there's definitely a lot of there's a lot of value to withholding where you put the music. It didn't really occur to me until you mentioned it that I guess they did that to save space,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like you said, like it's there's a narrative reason to maybe withhold it, and then at least that way it doesn't overpower any of the sound effects you're hearing at first, because that's definitely something that, and I'm sure the game designers think about this too, because I know that's something that always comes into play when people like John Williams are scoring films, is to make sure that the music doesn't interfere with the sound effects, that it's not in the same registers, so because then you start muddying it, you start covering, like it can interfere with how well you can hear certain things distinct from each other. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with kicking in that music at the end to make you realize, all right, I gotta lock in, I gotta,
And I kind of found that having the music play the whole time, I mean, it's John Williams. It's like it's gorgeous, but
yeah.
like I kind of stopped paying attention to it. And I'd have moments of, oh yeah, Duel of the Fates is playing, but I remember in the original game when it only kicked in on the final lap. And then, Joy-Con, the laps are long, some of these tracks, and you always have to do three in the tournament mode. And
Mm.
so when you're trying to beat this game and you make one tiny mistake at the third lap, you just lost 12 minutes of your adult life, Josh, and now the diaper needs to be changed, and now I got to stop
Yep.
playing, right? So that's
Yep.
that's
And then you
that's
don't come back until the next day and you're like, wait, what was I doing? Oh
yeah,
yeah.
pod racing.
Right.
Pod racing.
Any other bones to pick with Pod Racer before we get to our verdict? Or excuse me,
I
Racer. I did it again.
see it's okay. We're all
But
doing it.
yeah, no, like I said, people who know this game well will accidentally call it pod racer very frequently, and why not? Because they're pod racers. But yeah, you're right. It is technically racer. We can't get sued by, or not we, but they can't get sued by. Well, I mean, it makes me curious if like does that still apply? Does
It
that company
can't.
that
I don't
right?
No, I'm
know.
sure that ran out years
Yeah.
ago.
If they were to do a new one, could they finally just be like, all right, now it's pod racer?
I'm sure, but I think at that point it's kind of like, well, what's the point of us calling it pod racing? Like, what?
Yeah, you
I
limit
get
yourself. You got the
Yeah.
cool speeder bikes in there.
you.
I think the only other bone I would have to pick, and this is more of like a, obviously I'm not very much of a into like the thick science of Star Wars, but how can a levitating vehicle slide on ice? I would love someone to explain that to me.
That's
Right.
a very, very good point.
And
Well,
I don't
The
mean
ice
that in
shouldn't
a
affect you
malicious
at
way. I mean
all.
like I want that explained, because to me, if it was like any other vehicle, I'd be like, okay, but we're levitating off the ground. Come on. There's no way, there's no friction.
the Force,
Well,
Josh. Come on.
I mean, look,
Sorry.
turbo lifts, or not turbo lifts. What's the name of the Star Wars technology that just oh my goodness.
If anyone's gonna know, it's gonna be you.
Because I know the turbo lifts are their version of elevators.
Don't screw this up, Brian.
Well, I mean, the technology, like, because essentially, the same thing that all speeders do, where they're not necessarily flying the way X-wings do, but they're just sort of like presumably, we don't know. Obviously, it's a fictional technology, but presume it's like that hover technology. You know, that it's like maybe there's some sort of invisible force pushing against the ground, and I could imagine in such a way, if it's on ice, it would still be like slippery, you know,
Is
like
it the repulsor lift? Is that what you're thinking
repulsor
of?
lifts. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I
I just
knew. The
googled something
lift
like
was
I
in there
think I know
somewhere.
what you're talking about, but I can't remember
Yeah,
the exact name.
yeah,
Uh,
because the repulsor lifts is Star Wars' way of saying like not flying but hovering, and
right.
like it needs a surface to push off against, and because it is pushing off against the surface. This is me just spitballing. Like maybe that's why the ice will still be slippery, like because it's like
Like I said, I'm not saying it in like a, oh, this is stupid. I'm saying it in like a, I don't understand. Someone explain it to me because I was getting frustrated because like every racing game, like, yeah, it makes sense. It's ice.
right.
But we're not even touching it. Explain to me how is it because of the temperature? It's so cold, or the surface is so cold that it takes more energy to do it. So rather than expanding the energy to be able to lift it higher, it spreads it out, and that's what causes it to have that frictionless uh, lift. Sure, that
There
makes
you
plenty
go.
of sense. I'll take it. But as a racer, I'm like, son of a bitch, that didn't make
Literally,
sense.
literally unplayable.
It was fine, but still, it's like, oh, come on.
Oh, but now it makes me question, like, can you take repulsor lifts over water? Like, I mean,
Well, that's just it. You
if
get you. I forgot the other one where you're near the beach. I'm pretty sure there, like when where you're driving past like the water or over it, there is like you're not sliding like you were with all the ice. So it's like okay, it's clearly something to do with the temperature. It has to.
oh, you might be onto something there. Or you know, I mean, if anything, it reminds me of Back to the Future 2 when Marty finds out you can't take hoverboards on water. You're like,
Yeah.
you need power.
You know what? Someone on the internet knows. So leave a comment and explain this to us because Josh is losing sleep at night. I mean, that's happening because of the kid. Well, no, actually, no, it's not.
No, it's now this. This is the sole reason. I finally got over my fear of finding something. It took me almost 6 years to find a song. It lived in my head rent and free for 6 years until I finally heard it, got it out of my head. Now this is stuck in my
What
head.
was
Why
the
can't
song?
slide?
Like, why don't you slide? That one?
No,
Oh,
Frank Ocean. That's the only person I can think of that's on
he
it.
doesn't want to. He doesn't want to sing it because it'll get
Oh,
back
is
in
it?
there. He's gonna. All right,
Do
guys.
you
Well,
I'm
that's
sure
slide
that
it.
could
on
pass.
all your nights like this?
Yeah.
Do
Do it,
you
Oh,
do it.
okay.
ruin all your nights like this?
Oh, yeah,
That
okay.
song. Yeah,
I recognize.
that
Yeah,
song lived in my head rent free for 6 years. And I
yeah.
could only remember the melody. And I'm like, what is that song?
There's a whole Married with Children episode all about that,
Yeah.
where Al is like tormented. All
But
right,
we all
guys.
have that where we like know a song, but just none of the words, and we're like, sing it to me. Like, I mean,
Summer night, summer night.
yeah, like Jeremy
Yeah,
at least
Brian and I were
amongst
talking
us,
about Disney's Tarzan, and I was like, I love that opening song where he's like, summer night, and Brian's like,
like, you
what'd
mean
you say?
son of man?
And like, no, no, it's like an Africa thing. He's in the jungle, summer night, and Brian's like, that's not a word. You just made that up. It's son of man. But
I
I was
mean,
like belting summer night. And
I mean, you had me sold. I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's sing that.
Well,
Okay.
I'm definitely one of those kinds of people too. Just like even I'll know the words to a song, but it won't be until many years later I really think about what those words mean. It's just you're thinking very melodically, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, someone I it's like
Well, and one last note here, neither Joy Pro nor Joy Con, but Mike, I know you're listening to this. You got to let us know in the comments or on the Discord and join the Discord, www.theoldswitcharu.com. How did this play with the N64 controller? Because I feel like I was very grateful to have good thumbsticks with this thing, but I feel like with that old N64 joystick, I don't know if it would handle well by modern expectations. So very curious. Josh is saying probably not. Josh, did you play with an N64 controller?
So I did actually.
Oh,
I blew the dust off. I had an extender or extender like a adapter to be able to play
yeah,
it. So I did that, and
rough.
I honestly I did two races. And I was like, no, we're going back to the other controller. This is there's some games where I'm like, yeah, you have to have the Nintendo 64 controller. This is one of those where it's like, yeah, don't do it.
It's like
yeah.
an
It's a trap.
Even though you mostly played on N64 when you were back in the
When I was a
day.
kid, yeah, when I was a kid, that's the only way to play it. But
Yeah.
as an adult, let's be honest, Nintendo 64 is probably the most nostalgic controller, but the worst controller.
You'd have to hold the middle, I guess,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
middle
that's
and
always
right.
right. Yeah, that was always strange about that.
Yeah.
But also, shout out to the TV commercial, which turned the N64 controller into a Star Wars battleship. And when you think about
Yes.
how the thing looks, like that
Yeah,
was
it looks like a Naboo starfighter kind of that three prong kind of
Mhm.
yeah.
all right, guys. Well, that's gonna bring us to the moment of truth. We've covered the JoyPros, the JoyCons, and some extra stuff in between, I think. It's time to declare episode one Racer as a Nintendo or a NintenDon't. Josh, this episode was low-key your idea. So, what say you?
I'm gonna say Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's honestly for something that is showing its age. We're talking 27 years almost at this point. It's still great. I mean, I'm not saying like you're gonna be able to get all your friends together and play it and enjoy every moment, but you know what? Play it by yourself, get through it, have some friends come over, have a couple beers, and have a couple races. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. Like it's not gonna be your Mario Party, but it's at least gonna have a few good memories put into your good old brain noggin there.
I agree. I agree. I'm actually gonna go Super Nintendo. This is one of
Oh,
my favorite Star Wars or racing games, period. I think this is probably my favorite futuristic racing game.
100%.
Yeah, it just gets the sounds and the feel and you know, I- you could wait for it to go on sale. $15 might be a little steep, but honestly, even at $15 asking price, I think you're gonna get $15 worth of fun out of this thing. So I'm gonna go Super Nintendo. Brian, are you gonna do a clean sweep?
I don't know, absolutely Nintendo. I mean, this game, especially like when you think back to LucasArts of the era, the late 90s and the early aughts, they had a real reputation of being kind of hit or miss, despite how much Star Wars was huge again, because it's finally back in theaters and everything, and Star Wars mania was abound. But if you remember back then, you had like Jedi power battles, like yeah, like Yoda. Okay, I don't want to poo poo any games, and like obviously, teach their own. But like they had a track record that was rather hit or
Spotty.
miss, and some
Spotty.
yeah. And but whereas Racer was always one of those gems, one of those ones where just like yeah, I feel like they really nailed it, and it goes to show even just how well it still plays today, despite some of the aforementioned issues. But it's just so much fun. It's so Star Warsy. They yeah, all around it's definitely up there in terms of the like I would put it on the Mount Rushmore of LucasArts games. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, and so for the and standings, without Mike, my second head here, I will not officially be ranking this game. But if I had, it would have ranked incredibly high. I would have put this at number 12 out of 102 games. I think it's right above Pokemon Snap and right below Ghouls and Ghosts. And Josh, for the record, the game from your previous episode, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, is sitting in our top 20. It's like number 19 right now. So
Hey, I'll take it though.
you boys over at Smashing Game Time, you know a smashing great time when you see it.
Oh, all the
Um,
time, baby.
so we're gonna call that game over for today. Brian, thank you so much for braving that Santa Clarita traffic to come over the other day and play this for the episode. Before you boost your way out of here, why don't you remind our listeners where they can go to cyberstalk you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at brian.s.lee. That's Brian with a Y. And I a bit of a hiatus right now on there, but you can find a lot of my cosplay and my violin. So I just whatever. I don't. A lot of people like to especially cosplayers like to compartmentalize on very different accounts. It's just everything involving me. That's why it's my name.
It's
But you
so
can also
good.
find me on YouTube and TikTok. Sorry, Brian.s.lee on Instagram and TikTok, and Bryan Lee on YouTube.
You got it. You got the full name.
Yep.
And Josh, thank you so much for giving me an excuse to gush all about this game. It's been way too long. Where can our listeners find you and your brother and your always entertaining gaming content?
Yeah, so you can find all of our content over at our website, smashinggametime.com. That's where the podcast lives, where our words live. All of our links are there as well. I'll make sure to shoot my stuff over to Jaymo over there, my good buddy, our local bring on guest, because let's be honest, we love to talk about games, and I'm sure we're going to have a few more episodes lined up between both of our podcasts. So hey, come over. The fun continues. It's not just here; it's everywhere, baby.
The saga continues. I love it. That all
Oh
sounds
yeah.
excellent. Everyone join us next time for our very first movie/game hybrid episode. We're going to be diving deep into Quest for Camelot on the Game Boy Color and in theaters everywhere in 1998. That was a weird one. Uh,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
don't forget to visit www.theoldswitcharoo.com. There you can find links to our Spotify, Discord, YouTube, TikTok, and all the social medias you can shake a joystick at. Big thanks to Crystal Fields for our incredible intro song. And please, dear listener, don't forget to like and subscribe. Every click means a lot, and you mean a lot to us. Until next time, this has been the Old Switcheroo, where we normally talk gaming retro with Mike and Jaymo. They're not Mike, but I'm still Jaymo. Game on, everyone. May the force be with you. You got to say that, right? You got
May
to
the
say
fourth be
that.
Yes,
with
you
you.
have to.
Happy May the 4th, everybody.
Happy May the 4th.
Happy 4th.
Yeah.